This week, Abby and I are boondocking together. The fire just popped a huge coal out of it. We're boondocking in the middle of nowhere. It's not really the middle of nowhere, but we're away from people. We're camping. We are out in the wild recording the podcast in the wild for the first time since last fall, and it feels wonderful. Today, we're going to talk about Fort Collins, Colorado, and a whole lot of other stuff that's been going on in our family. This is RV Miles.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit BlueOx.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today.
Welcome to episode number 359 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with our three boys, have been enjoying the RV life since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, and so much more.
Today is sadly a travel day. We're recording in the morning, but we're about to leave one of the best boondocking sites we've ever had. We are outside of Vernal, Utah, near Dinosaur National Monument. And there's a giant beetle that's crossing in front of you right now.
Oh, hold on. I gotta get my coffee cup off the ground. Wow.
We're not far outside of the town of Vernal, so it's actually like 10 minutes into like Walmart.
But you would never know
You would know
it.
It's silent out here. It's an area called something Flats. What's it? McCoy Flats. So if you want to look it up on like RV Life or Campendium, McCoy Flats is where
we'll talk more about it in a future
Yeah.
boondocking episode. But this will probably be my favorite camping spot of this trip. And it couldn't have come at a more perfect time after the last week plus that we've had as a family to be able to come out here, and we can look. I'm not kidding. I will share some photos and a reel once this comes out, just to give you an idea of how kind of removed we are from everyone and everything. There's not a lot of people out here boondocking right now, but they're nowhere near us.
Yeah, and it's kind of a mountain biking area, so there's mountain biking trails. So every now and then we'll see mountain bikers kind of go off in the distance and stuff. And it's just the highway's not far at all. I mean, literally it's 4 minutes out to the highway, but we really can't hear it. And
No.
it's just gorgeous, and it feels so good to be out here doing this after coming from one of the most expensive campgrounds, maybe the most expensive campground we've ever spent money on, which was wonderful. We had a great time at Tiger Run in Breckenridge.
And we had to extend a few days while we were there, so it was even more money than we had planned on spending.
But we have our new fancy solar and battery system, so we haven't really been able to put that through its paces other than our first couple travel days. So it's been nice to be able to be out here and do all the things. And I mean, we're microwaving, we're making coffee. Abby blow dried her hair yesterday.
And used the flat iron.
Because we did a photo shoot. So we wanted to get to a good piece of land where we could do lots of photos of the rig. And so we did that, got some drone shots and all that sort of stuff, and had a lot of fun dressing up and and having the
Pretending
kids
to cut bread and
washing strawberries.
pretending to watch a movie together. It was great. It was a lot of fun. We couldn't be in a more perfect spot for that to happen. I just can't wait to share the photos with all of you, and then for you to see why we were doing all those photos, which we'll be able to talk about once we have that all confirmed. But it's been just a really great couple of days. I don't wanna leave. I'm excited for where we're going, obviously, because 'cause we're headed for Colville, Utah, which means that we're heading for the High Desert Hangout. So in just a few days, we're going to, welcome 36 people from the RV Miles community for this small little hangout that we're doing at Rome Echo Island RV Resort. So that is a really great reason to go. I just wish we could have gotten here a few days sooner because this, for me, has been really the first time that I've been what I feel like RVing since we left, 16
Yeah.
days ago.
Yeah.
This is the first time where I feel like I have been able to enjoy the rig, enjoy the RV life, and just be present with you and the kids. And it's been really wonderful. Obviously, a big thank you to Jason and the boys because they really held the fort down last week. And Jason was here solo on the show last week as well and doing all of the work for RV Miles. As many of you know, I was gone last week, unexpectedly gone last week. Kind of the short story is that I had a family member that became really unexpectedly ill, not like with a cold or a virus or anything, but with a heart problem. And so, it was my brother, it was my younger brother. He's only 43. And when we all found this out, not only did I immediately rent a car and be so thankful that I was in Colorado and got on the road immediately, but my parents booked plane tickets. My brother, who lives in Dallas, and my sister in law, they booked plane tickets. And my brother, who lives in the LA area, headed for the hospital. And we all descended upon LA
And
to.
your brother he doesn't live in
He
LA.
doesn't live in LA, so
So
my brother Jason, who's also named Jason, early '80s babies.
it's confusing. She's got a
It's
brother Jason and a brother
yeah,
Jordan,
we'll just
and
call him
my name's
Jay.
Jason, and I have a brother Jordan
Yeah,
as well.
it's ridiculous. Like, I thought we weren't creative when we had our kids. Clearly, everyone was like, "What are 3 names we've all agreed upon for people born in, like, 80, 81, and 82?" And so we went down there. My brother was there in the LA area. He works in the music industry. He's a production manager for multiple national and international bands, and a tour that he has been working on for about a year now was getting ready to go out on the road. So they were in Burbank. He'd been in Burbank for the last several weeks. They were rehearsing. So they'd been out a little bit on some international stuff. They came back to Burbank. They were rehearsing for this North American tour that they're going to be doing. And anyone who knows anyone who works in the music industry and even the theater industry, you know that it is nonstop. You take a job and you're on call for that job until that job is done. And so it's a very stressful job to be overseeing dozens upon dozens of tour buses and schedules and where will everyone sleep and working. They have a caterer that travels with them. While I was with Jason, they were having an issue with getting $8,000 worth of groceries delivered to the arena for the crew just for one day. $8,000 worth of groceries to feed people for one day because the crew wasn't going to be able to leave the arena. They were loading in and they were going to, I think, load out kind of all in the same day. So they were there all day. So it's very stressful. It's nonstop. And unfortunately, my brother, who is an incredibly hard worker, who gives everything to everything he does, had given so much of himself that he had what they categorize as an untraditional heart attack. So we all descended, and I should say he loves his job, but his job is also very, very hard. So we all descended down there, and we did our best to offer support to Jason. Jason got out of the hospital. Before I get there, I mean, I took this drive, and this drive to take me over. I had to stop. I stopped in Richfield, Utah.
So we rented a car for you
Yeah.
in Silverthorne, right?
Yeah, in Silverthorne, which is only
And
about 10 minutes from
yeah,
Breckenridge, 10, 15 minutes, just right off 70. And basically, it's a beautiful drive. I've done this drive numerous times. It's a beautiful drive through 70 to catch 15 south. And then you're taking 15 south basically all the way until you hit into LA. And then, you start bouncing around
it's like
on.
12 hours of straight drive time.
Yeah, it was about 900 miles. I covered that and I left on Thursday around 4 o'clock and I
Now,
rolled.
you left though, we should say. You left the day before we got dumped on, but you
Yes.
also ended up driving through some
Yeah,
snow.
so I was anxious to get on the road because I knew that this snowstorm was coming to Breckenridge on Friday. In fact, at 6 o'clock Thursday night, a winter storm warning was going into effect in the area. So I knew I needed to get on the road and I knew I needed to get ahead of this storm. Unfortunately, about 9:30 or so, as I was coming into Richfield, about an hour out of Richfield, I stopped about 10:30 that night. It began to rain as I was, coming up on one of the many mountain passes you're gonna do on this drive, and I will say that probably the last hour of Thursday night was pretty white knuckle because, while it was clear they had iced the roads and they did a great job of getting ahead of that, you have kind of icy conditions because now you're up in this mountain pass and the temperature at that point was I think somewhere hovering around like 24, 25, so it was below freezing. So there was really kind of a line of us that made a collective driver's decision to all pretty much set 35 miles an hour as like the fastest we were going to go. I put it on cruise to kind of just make sure I wasn't on the brakes constantly and I let the car kind of do it. I had this piece of crap Mazda
Well, that's
3.
what I was gonna can I just preemptively put my black tank in here?
Yeah.
So my black tank, I'm sorry if I'm stealing this from you, but
Oh,
my
no, I
black
haven't.
tank was I made a car reservation for you
Mhm.
the night before for like
No, that afternoon.
or
We made it
that
2 hours
afternoon, yeah.
before. Yeah, because we found out Thursday late
Yeah.
morning that he was, checking into the hospital being
For
admitted.
a premium SUV. I wanted you to have something with four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive
Yeah, because we knew
and be
that the
able
storm was
to
coming.
get there safely. And they call us like 45 minutes before we get there. We actually didn't get the message until we were on our way to get the car that,
Right.
oh, they don't have what we reserved. Now, when I went on the website of this enterprise, um, they had so much availability for so many different things.
Yeah.
And
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 then
that's why I chose what I chose. And the guy calls us up and he's like, well, we don't have that.
and we don't have this, and we
Or
don't
this
have
or
that, and
that.
we don't have
They
this.
had nothing.
He had a Toyota Camry, a Mazda 3, or a
The
minivan.
website showed
Those
that
were
they
my
had
choices.
all these options. I go on, I reserve an option. It was literally the Seinfeld episode
Yeah.
about the reservation. Why do you have the reservation if you don't have the
If you
car?
don't have the
It
car.
that when did that episode air now? 30 years ago?
I know, it's
And it's
amazing.
still a problem. We've got the internet, we've got the computer technology and tracking the vehicles has changed this much over time. You mean you can't tell me your computer? I know your computer at the location tells you which cars you have there.
There's
So why doesn't the website show which cars you have there?
because they're still using dial-up. It's like
Because they know I would have went with a different company.
Yeah,
Because that was
exactly.
the thing. It was too late. So then we were on our way 10 minutes away from picking up the car. What am I going to do? Go call another? I mean, I guess we could have, but we were trying to get you out of town.
No, it
And they
was
closed at 5. We were going to be there at 4:30, and it was so you ended up having to choose this Mazda, which was, I mean,
it was fine.
it's fine. It's just not what. Well, and like, did you need a big four-door car then too? Like, it was weird.
I will never,
I mean,
ever
they're all
own.
four doors now. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
I
said that,
know.
but like, did you need a full
No,
size car? Did you
they're
need
n
a full size sedan?
they're not all 4 doors. I don't know if I ever told this story, but when Henry and I back in 2023 went to, March of 2023, we flew from San Francisco back to Chicago, actually to the Quad Cities because he had not only he needed to meet with his pediatrician there, but then we were going to drive to Chicago and he was going to be doing a whole thing with the pediatric surgeons and the specialty departments that he sees and all this. So I had rented us a car. And when Henry and I went to go pick it up, this is March 2023, we go to pick it up. They gave me a 2-door convertible, like Corvette thing. And I'm talking not like a cool Corvette. I mean, but like just big old front end, boxy butt, like.
That's what they all are. That's a Corvette.
I guess that's a Corvette. I guess that's actually just a Corvette. They give me this Corvette and they think they're doing me a favor. Try to put my 9-year-old, into the back seat. And we start to drive away. And I am like, I can't see where the front of this car ends. And I am like, I just was like, I have to say something because I was like, I'm so bad at just being like, this isn't really going to work for me. But I started to drive this thing and I'm like, I can't take this to Chicago. I can't try to park this Corvette in downtown Chicago. I was like, so I turned around and I took it back. So there are still some 2-doors, and we ended up just taking like a Toyota Corolla instead. But there are still some 2-doors rentals out there, I guess, if you want a convertible Corvette. So, back to 2025's car rental, from about the last, 40, 50 miles to Richfield, it was pretty white knuckle. I was super stressed, just going through these mountain passes in the dark, below freezing. It's raining. Big old monster trucks are either barreling up on me or passing me, and passing this line of cars of us that are, choosing to go a little bit slower because we don't drive this every day. So I finally get to the hotel. It's 10:30. I am exhausted. I'm so tired. I've been driving for 6 hours and much of it has been slightly stressful. And, it was quite a hasty pack up and go. So, I had like thrown a bunch of clothes in a duffel bag. I had my backpack and then I had my computer bag and, I packed like some snack. It was very hasty. I was in and out of the RV when we knew I was leaving in probably 20 minutes. So I get to the hotel. I'm exhausted. I'm going to grab my stuff. I open the back of the trunk and I'm like, where is my duffel bag? Where is my duffel bag with all of my clothes? And I'm like, where is it? It's not here. I call him. I'm sobbing in the parking lot. And I'm like, where is my
You weren't
duffel?
just sobbing.
I was pissed. I was very angry. I was
got
like,
an earful.
You got an earful.
Somehow it became my fault. I don't know how I forgot your clothes, but I apparently did.
I apologized to you later and I said I fully took out the stress of that last hour plus in the rough weather conditions and just wanting so desperately to get to that hotel and, trying to manage my anxiety of all of that and, get there and just take a bath and get into some pajamas and get some sleep because I needed to be back on the road by 6. So because, again, the storm was coming and it was still going to come through Richfield and Richfield was going to get snow on Friday morning. Not a lot, but they were going to get snow during below freezing temps. So I wanted to try and get on the road and get ahead of it because if I could just get down to St. George, Utah, which was about 150 miles, I was totally in the clear. I was going to miss this storm completely. So I had an absolute meltdown of which I am not proud of, but I had reached my limit of being cool and calm and I needed to just have it out before I went into the hotel. So I have no clothes. I have no clothes. So now I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just sleeping in what I've been wearing all day long. And I go into the hotel and I am like, okay, well, I know because I've actually been to it that there is a Target in St. George because I actually have stopped.
You were on the phone with me. You're like, I was like, you're just going to have to go buy some clothes. And you're like, where am I going to buy clothes? I'm like, where does anybody buy clothes? At the store. You go to the store and you buy clothes. What do you mean, where do I buy clothes? They have clothes in Utah.
I was so I was just like, there was I was like, "I'm just gonna lay down here on this in this parking lot, and that's it. I'm done. I live here now in this parking lot. I'm done. Me and this Mazda 3, we're just gonna finish out our time together." So, I get into the hotel, and I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna do a pickup order." So I sit there and I, go through and I pick out some pieces, just what can I wear numerous times? So, I'll get it, so I make this Target order to pick up the next morning. I thankfully found a pair of socks and one rogue t-shirt that I had thrown into the backpack because I had already zipped up the duffel and I was like, "Whoa, I want this t-shirt." So I threw it in the backpack. So at least I had a clean pair of socks and a clean t-shirt. So I get up the next morning. I get on the road about 6:30. Unfortunately, I don't miss the snow. So I start off immediately at 6:30 in the morning driving through snow up into another mountain pass because you've got to get another mountain pass before you get down and head to St. George. So I'm up in another mountain pass in almost a complete whiteout. Uh, Thankfully, the roads are still pretty quiet. And it didn't seem to really be sticking, but it hadn't been salted or anything. So, here's starting off the morning. I get to St. George. I pick up my Target order. I also have them add on some Starbucks. You better believe I got that cortado with the 3 espresso shots. I was like, I need this and some egg bites. Bring these to me. I'm starving and I need my cortado.
So did you know an espresso shot only has like half of the caffeine as a cup of coffee?
Yeah, so
I
when
thought it
you
was
have
like way more.
no, no, no. I mean, but when you have 3,
Well, sure,
I said
you've
but
had
it's
a
still
one and a
only
half
it's
cups
one
of
and a half
coffee.
cups of coffee. It's just
Which I
it's
mean, if you
concentrated.
have a venti coffee, you know,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not that different. I'm saying it's
no.
not insane to have
No,
3 shots of espresso.
it's just very concentrated,
Yes.
because these cortados are only 8-ounce cups. So it's very concentrated, kinda like all at once.
Yeah.
So once I left St. George, the drive was really pretty uneventful. I got down to Burbank about 3 o'clock. I didn't hit a lick of traffic in California. I mean,
That's cool.
everybody going the other way was like,
It
"Stop,
it was
stop moving."
it was Easter weekend,
It was,
right? So
and yeah.
you had left us on what was it Good
Is it
Friday when you
like
left?
I was like, "No," it was the Thursday, it was the
It was Thursday,
19th
the
or
19th, yeah,
the 17th one,
17th.
something like that.
And yeah, so you had left us for Easter weekend, which um was obviously there's some disappointment from that, but we wanted you to do what you needed to do, and we wanted your brother to have support. I mean, I was the first one to say I think you need to go out there because he just didn't have anybody, and
Yeah.
not that he can't take care of himself, but I think all of our concern was he wouldn't take care of himself.
No, I mean,
So
he called me, I missed his call Thursday
yeah,
morning
he
'cause
was not himself.
no, he called me first. I'm kind of his first call. He called me first, and I missed his text that was like, "I need you to call me ASAP." I didn't see it for about 45 minutes, and then when I did call, he couldn't really form a sentence with me, which is very unusual for my brother. He's pretty even-keeled, not,
Yeah. And when you have a family member that's by themselves in a hospital
yeah.
that can't really speak to you very well, you
No,
worry that they're not able to advocate for their care or all that sort of stuff.
exactly, and,
Yeah.
it his all he could get out was, "Just call Jordan, Jordan knows everything," and I was like, "Oh,
So he
something's."
wasn't your first
Well,
he called you, but you didn't
after
answer.
he didn't
Yeah.
get a hold of me, he called
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah.
So he had gotten a hold of somebody because he wanted somebody to know what was going on, and I didn't missed his call and I didn't see his text. So he called Jordan, told Jordan everything that was happening. I called Jordan. Jordan tells me, um, and then the wheels just start going, and we get everybody assembled, and yeah, it was to get down there and it is very hard to think about the questions you should be asking when you are scared. So I was able to stay for the week and assist Jason and help him ask the questions that he needed to ask or think of the things he needed to think of. Because unfortunately, I've sat in enough of these rooms with enough of these doctors and had enough of these kinds of conversations to now at this point kind of know what are the top, what are the 5 things we need to be asking and what are the 5 things for going home that he needs to know about. Like, we've done this conversation a lot over the last decade. So I stayed until I left LA on Wednesday and began the drive back to Breckenridge um, with my brother because he couldn't fly, brought him back to here, and then he rented a car and continued back to Kansas City where he will rest and recuperate and develop relationships with care there that he needs. And I'm going to help him with that to make sure that he takes care of himself because he's got some more jobs that, are lined up this year with other bands and he needs to be healthy and able to do those. So it was a real wild week. In a way, it'd been a long time since all of the family had really been together. My siblings and my parents in a room together. So we got that little bit of time. There's a story I'm going to share for Detour this week about an experience I had with my parents, my brother Jordan, and my sister-in-law when we went to City Walk because Jason went back to work on Saturday and uh, we didn't really know what to do with ourselves, so we went to City Walk, Universal City Walk, and had a really unexpected experience there that you wouldn't expect to have at City Walk. So I'm going to share that as part of Detour, which is the podcast we do for our mile marker members, uh, later on after we're done here. But yeah, that was
Yeah,
my week. It was really I'm
we're glad
exhausted.
we were able to make it happen.
I can't
So and
imagine if I had been in Davenport.
well,
Trying to get down
you
there
would have
to
had to
him.
sucked it up and flown.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it still would have been a really long flight because I would have had to fly to Denver.
no,
And then from Denver, I would have
well,
had to
yeah,
fly to
yeah.
LA. So I would have been looking at, my parents driving wasn't really that much of a difference. My parents flew from Kansas City. They left very early in the morning
Yeah.
on Friday and had a layover in Phoenix and then continued on. They arrived at the hospital about a half an hour before me, and they had left for the airport at 4:30 that morning. So, there wasn't
They
that much.
maybe they left a little early.
They might have left a touch early. I think they were a little anxious to get to their son, but
Yeah.
um, you know, yeah, it feels good to be back. Obviously I'm still
So
worried about my brother, but
yeah, and he's doing great. Um,
he is.
Back in RV Miles world though, we were trying to figure out like what we should do in terms of travel because we had nights booked and then after were to leave Tiger Run, thankfully we were going to do a few days of boondocking where
Yeah.
there wasn't anything booked. So we decided to extend our stay at Tiger Run and skip going to we're going to do some boondocking outside of Glenwood Springs and outside of Colorado National
Once
Monument.
again, Colorado National Monument
So
eludes
we
us.
had to drop those things off the list. We could have it was back and forth of whether I would pack everything up and just head out on the road without you, but
I'm
you're
glad you
yeah,
didn't.
and your rental car needed to go back to Breckenridge anyways.
Well, and
There's
because
issues like that.
we didn't know we were going to have Jason.
Yeah.
And so Jason, when I got back to Breckenridge on Thursday, Jason, my brother, was with me. He and I drove together. Uh, and so we were able he stayed the night with us in the 37 RV miles. We had a spot for him to sleep, which was fantastic. We went to dinner, took him to dinner in Breckenridge. The boys got that time with their uncle, which, is something that, Jason, my brother, also relishes to spend time with them. It was the first night of the draft. the NFL draft, so he and Ethan were very much into that and chatting about it, and I think that that was really good for his soul, and it was good for our souls to spend some time together with him, and then, be able to see him on his way for the last leg of his journey home on Friday morning before we headed out. That just felt right. Like, that we didn't know, as all of these pieces were falling into place, that that's what the end game would be for this particular leg of our trip in Breckenridge, but it felt like staying there was the right decision, even though it was a costly one.
Yeah, but it was
But,
look,
well, I guess we saved on fuel, though. I mean, if you
we
think about it.
we didn't save on anything.
More in a moment, but first, if you're like us, you absolutely need internet on your travels. And the sponsor of today's video is a great internet solution for travelers. It's a cellular device that works on multiple carriers from a company called Travelfi. Travelfi allows remote workers or anyone on the move really reliable internet access that allows you to move around freely. You don't have to have a permanent location at all to set it up. It's a small, compact device with no contracts and no commitments. You just pay for the months you use, and it just works really well, really quickly, really easily. And if it isn't working for you, they have a US-based call center to help you troubleshoot. Travelfi allows you to stream, work, and play on the go, whether you need internet in your RV, your cabin, even your hotel room. You can get internet in so many different places thanks to their multi-carrier network, and you can browse and work in confidence and comfort. When you go to their website and use the code RVMiles15, you can get 15% off your device order. Again, no contracts, no commitments. You just pay for the months you're using it for. If you're not traveling in the winter, you don't have to pay for it in those months. There's a link in the description below, or you can go to travelfi.com. That's TRAVLFI.com. There's no E. TRAVLFI.com, or go to the link in the description and use code RVMiles15 for 15% off.
So we drove directly here. So this is the first stop where we're at here outside of Vernal, Utah, since being in Breckenridge. And
Yep.
we're sitting here in this beautiful location where you're not watching. We're sitting at a campfire. We've got a portable. We brought we brought 3 portable wood camp stoves with us
Yep, we
because
did.
we're testing them out. We have, I guess we didn't need to bring our solo stove. We've tested that plenty, but we want to do a video that shows all 3 of them. So we're testing the solo stove and another one, and then the slinky stove here that we have right now, which is kind of looks like a solo stove a little bit. If you're watching, you see it. It's a sort of stainless steel, and I feel bad because they advertise it as sort of a low smoke version. It's kind of like a solo stove, but it's far cheaper. It's far more compact.
Mhm.
But there is a log in this fire that is like, it is just
It's
oozing
oozing. I'm staring at
sap,
it.
and the most of the wood's very dry, but this one log is just, it's smoking like crazy and oozing sap.
Yeah,
So
I've been watching it intently as I was
but
chatting.
yeah, we've got these 3 fire pits, and we're going to test them out. We're going to do a whole video on kind of all 3 of them and compare and contrast and all that sort of stuff. But here we wanted to take a moment to talk about our time at the first real stop of our trip. So on the last episode, I talked about our first couple travel days and staying at the Harvest Hosts and all that. But the goal was to get to Fort Collins, Colorado, where we spent some time with our good friends, the Armsteads, who were our travel companions throughout a lot of COVID. Throughout the very
2020,
beginning of COVID,
2021,
when
yeah.
nobody knew what the heck was going on and with travel or what. So our kids got really close with them, and we got really close with them, and they have settled down in Fort Collins. So we talked about last fall. We visited Fort Collins, and we talked about that a bit last fall. But we got to go again, and this time we got to camp and go to a few different new places. So we're going to talk today about some of that. So I guess the first thing we should hit on is where we stayed.
Yeah, so we stayed at Horsetooth Reservoir South Bay Campground. I have a reel on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube, all the places, showing the campground that we stayed at. We stayed in site S29.
Perfect site.
Beautiful
Right
site.
on the water.
Beautiful site. So at Horsetooth Reservoir, which is a county park.
Yes.
So at Horsetooth, it is $40 a night for an electric only site. And on top of that, you do have, if you come in towing, so if you have a travel trailer, a fifth wheel, you do have to pay an additional $10 a night. It's a state or county park fee for the truck.
Unless you have like the county park pass.
Yes.
Which if you're a local.
Now, if you came in with a Class C, a Class B, a motorhome, you would not be paying that. It's just essentially like two vehicles.
Yeah.
Regardless of what those two vehicles are, one of them has to pay the pass.
The public camping in Colorado can be fairly expensive, whether it's county parks or state parks.
And
it gets up there.
I bring this up because lot of people wanted to argue with me on these reels because in addition to that, so you've got the $40 flat camping fee. Then you have the $10 vehicle fee for the county park, which gets you entrance into all of the county park. They have hiking and fishing and biking and a bunch of recreational areas. So it's not just the campground. It's the entire Horsetooth Reservoir area. Now, if this is unusual, if you want to use their dump station there, if you're leaving and you need to use the dump station, you do have to pay $15 to use it.
It's an automated dump station.
Yeah.
Which was nice. It was really nice,
It's
actually.
a very nice dump station.
If I had encountered this where I wasn't at a campground and needed a place to dump, I would love this. The fact that you had to pay for it was annoying.
Very annoying.
But it was very quick, sort of, it's a tap to pay sort of thing. You had to have a credit card or a phone that would do tap to pay. There was no slide or anything. So if your card, the tap had stopped working, you'd be in trouble.
After my own heart, because I very rarely anymore even have my wallet.
But sometimes, I mean, like we use the Apple Pay, but sometimes with the card, if you don't have it set up on your phone, sometimes the tap stops working.
Yeah, it's weird.
So anyway, it was that, and then it unlocks the lid on the sewer connection, basically, and you can lift it up. So you have to like start it and then lift the connection with your foot and then put your hose in to hold it up, because if it's shut again, you're out another $15.
Oh boy.
Right?
Oh boy. So this is unusual, right? Like it's not included in your camping fee. That's annoying. What I mentioned is that people were trying to argue on the internet with me is that they kept saying, "Oh, so what you're saying is it's $65 a night to camp there." And I'm like, "No, that's not at all accurate."
Yeah. If you camp one night.
If you camp one night and you use the dump station and you are getting charged the vehicle fee, yes. But if you rolled up in there in your Class B, it would cost you $40 if you did not use the dump station, just $40.
And if you camp for us, we camped 4 nights.
Yes, and it cost
we
us
dumped once, which is not $15 a night. It's $15 for the trip.
So math is important. But I also understand the frustration of the fee on top of the fee on top of the fee. And that was a kind of a running comment. It's always like, it's never just $40. It's $40 plus this, plus this, plus this.
I hate the state park entry fee on top of the camping reservation. Just, if you need to make it cost more, just include it. It's really annoying. It's really, really annoying.
Make it $45
Do you remember,
a
though,
night.
when, like, I remember when we stayed at an Indiana state park and we spent like $42 years ago, you know, and we were like, this is the most expensive campground we've ever stayed at.
It was like 2017. How dare this state park charge us $42 because it was including an entrance fee? And we were like, this is ridiculous. We haven't paid this all year long. Like, and now, of course, we're looking, 8 years later, and you're going, oh, $40 for electric only?
Oh, it's not bad.
Or, honestly, just say it's $50.
Yeah.
Like, just say it's $50. This, like, sort of like nickel and diming and having to all of these little extras. This is what upsets
What's crazy,
people.
too, is that dump station is not a dump station that anybody else is using. Nobody is driving up to
No.
this reservoir
No.
just to use the dump station
I mean, I
because
don't
maybe there's some boondocking areas out there. I don't think so
would
though.
boaters have a reason to use it or anything like that maybe? I just am trying to think of some of the other
Not
stuff you
really.
can do there.
The size boats that are going into that reservoir, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
yes, if you had a boat big enough, but I guess probably a few of them would be. But even if I was a boater, though, you have to drive into that
it's
campground
not
and
easy.
make a circle out of it. That would be hard.
It's very silly. I don't argue, and I don't argue on the internet, period. I don't argue that charging $15 to use that dump station is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It should be included. Like, if you are concerned with boondocking people in the area, because I am under the impression from a few comments that there is some boondocking not too far outside of Fort Collins. If you're concerned with people coming over and just using that dump station, you do have a gate that you have to go through in order to get into the campground. So man the gate, have a gate
Well,
code.
that
What
costs money too. I
Right,
mean, that's the thing.
it's sort of like,
It's
but they're
just
passing they're passing that all off to the consumer, to the camper.
I don't mind paying for it. I just put it in the fee.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it should be, I think it should be,
But I mean, I guess some people would argue that like, oh, tent campers shouldn't have to pay it or whatever. And okay, but it's that on top of the vehicle fee. It just becomes a little frustrating. So,
yeah.
but it's a
Anywho, it's a
great
great
place to camp. It was
It's beautiful.
beautiful. We were right on the water. Excellent site. And what we love so much about campgrounds like that is super natural place, not completely wilded because there are a lot of vehicles on the road
Yeah,
that
it's a
goes around it
busy
and stuff like
county
that.
park.
But still, outside of the city, Fort Collins is fairly big. It's like
It's a college
it's a
town.
decent sized town. I mean, it has everything you want. Really, it's a great town. But we were 10 minutes into town.
We were 10 minutes from our friend's house, which was
Yeah,
wonderful
yeah. To
to
go
be
like
able.
the downtown area, it's a little
It
bit
was probably
further.
about,
Yeah.
20, 25 minutes. But it was fantastic to be so close to our friends and still be able to have the not private campground KOA campground that's their kind of experience, which is really just being right on top of your neighbor. It was a little early in the year, like it was still pretty barren. The trees didn't really have, there were no leaves on the trees yet. Nothing was in bloom. So it still looked like winter was settled in that area. But just to have that kind of space to kick off our trip going into a campground that gave us so much space right there on the reservoir was really, really enjoyable. So
Yeah,
highly recommend.
and I do want to give a quick shout out to our friend mile marker Brian who met us
Oh,
at the
yes.
campground
Thank you,
and
Ryan.
was there. So if you're watching this on video, he was there to take some shots of us
He
arriving because he thought ahead. This is why we're not travel vloggers. Is he's like, I bet you want some shots of pulling into a
And we're
campsite.
like, doing?
Like, we don't think of those things.
Yeah, I
And
guess we
it's like,
probably do,
oh
Brian.
yeah. Actually, that'd be really smart for us
Wow.
to have.
Wow. That sounds like
Normally
such a
we
good
get to a
idea.
campground and last minute Abby's like, if we remember, she's like, oh, maybe I should get out quick and take some shots of us pulling into this site.
I am really good at remembering last minute that I want to walk a campsite and,
Oh,
get the video of the campsite and so I can do a reel or something.
we're like late checking out and you're
And I'm
you're out
walking.
taking video of the
I'm walking it.
campsite. I bet campgrounds love that. I bet they're like, these people are a half hour past checkout time. And this woman is out there with her camera
Look,
doing a TikTok,
doing the tickety talk.
even though we're not on
I'm
TikTok.
not. We are, but we're not. I'm very good at remembering at the very last minute. Oh, Jay, let's grab some photos of this really quick. We're going to talk about this campground. I want to remember what number it is, and I want to take a reel because one of the things that, I do hear when I make these reels is how much people appreciate not just an overview of the campground, but that I actually show what site we're in. I give the site number so that when they go to look, they have a kind of a little bit of a reference. They see, oh, this 43-foot fifth wheel was in this huge, beautiful site at Horsetooth Reservoir. it isn't but I'm not paying $65 a night, but still it's nice to know that it's there. So I always think about that as we're leaving. I never am I thinking about when we're arriving what we need. Usually because it's like, okay, we need to get set up. It's dinner time. There's all these life things we need to do. I'm not thinking about the work things. So thank you to Brian, who this footage that we'll show on the video version of this and then probably share a little bit across social media. That was all him. So that's where we stayed. Again, every time we've been to Fort Collins, we've been there specifically to see friends. So most of our time has been spent with them. But, they did the first time we were there back in November. We went up into the Horsetooth Reservoir. We had a beautiful picnic, did a little bit of hiking. It's a lovely area. It's gorgeous in the fall. We went to a couple of places to eat that we can recommend. Of course, we can recommend a pizza place.
Always.
Always. And they took us to a place called Slice Pizza Company in downtown Fort Collins. Downtown Fort Collins is super charming. There's a
Awesome.
great independent bookstore down there. Highly recommend.
It's quite historic too. It's kind of a mix of historic and modern. There's a lot of older buildings and a lot of, cool hip restaurants. But this
Yeah.
pizza place, Slice with a Y, SLYCE. It's a surprise, surprise. It's a pizza by the slice place. You can get a whole pizza
You can't
as
get a whole
well.
pie.
But what's cool is it is one of these places, and we've seen a few of these in recent travels. There's one in Charlottesville
Yep.
where they have really unique pizzas that they cook up and then they put out and on a warming counter, and then you choose the slices. And I really like that because you don't want to do like a super unique combo of ingredients often for a whole pizza
Yeah.
where you're like, if I don't like it, what then I've just got to eat the whole thing. Plus then you've got a whole family of people that at least somebody's gonna not gonna like it. And our family in particular,
Yeah.
no, listen, there's nothing our family all likes. Nothing.
That's not true.
It is
We
true.
we all like pizza, but
No,
just different
no,
versions.
that's the thing. There is no pizza other than plain, no, not even plain cheese. Henry doesn't
No.
want to eat plain cheese.
Nobody.
There's no pizza that we can all eat.
This is
Even
true.
pizza we cannot agree on.
So what's
So
nice
it's
about
nice
this?
that we can bring the kids there. Everybody
Yes.
can choose what Jack got the mac and cheese pizza, which is amazing.
What's great though too, and I'll throw this back, is that it's not just the kids. Let's be honest.
It's us too. You like a lot of veggies on your pizza. I know.
love
Yeah.
a supreme pizza. You do not like veggies on
It's
a
not that I
pizza,
don't.
except pineapple.
That's not a veggie.
I
That's
know.
a fruit.
It's a fruit. That's about as close as to anything wild that you put on a pizza. So
I'm not one for like mixing a lot of stuff. It's the same thing with sandwiches to me.
that's why you don't like casseroles.
It's not that I don't like. It's not that I don't like the vegetables, but I would rather have a sandwich that's just like turkey and cheese and mayonnaise, and then on the side of it have a salad, then put the salad on my sandwich.
Oh, I'll put it all on my sandwich, and then I'll sprinkle the potato chips on top.
Lots of ingredients like this. Casseroles I can sometimes do, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
Still,
So
I like it on
this
the
was
side.
great. It's, when you buy it by the slice, it's a little bit more expensive, but they're big New York style slices. So
I didn't think it was. I thought the price was fine. I think it was $5.99.
no, it was $8 a slice.
I think it was $5.99 for pepperoni or cheese and $6.99 for the premium slices.
Oh, okay. You should
I
just check on
I
that
could
when
be
you get
wrong,
there.
but I didn't think that was too bad because they were
Yeah.
decent sized slices.
They were big New York style slices. So
Not like the gigantor ones, but big.
no, but Henry had like one slice and he was good. So we can recommend there for the family. A really great spot for couples or, just if it's anyone over drinking age, over the age of 21. There's a place called Social, and it is an underground speakeasy that we probably talked about this when we recapped our trip back in November, but I just want to mention it
I don't think we went
again.
into much detail on it, but it was so good. It's a place where can't get a reservation. You kind of have to wait to get in and
Yeah,
stuff.
you wait to
Um,
be let down into the underground
and
speakeasy.
we had a charcuterie board that was so good that we ordered another one, a giant one, and some of the best cocktails I think we've ever had.
Yeah.
It was
It was
really good. I
it
would
was
love to go back
spectacular.
and like have some more of their food.
Yeah.
The charcuterie board was good. I mean, look, if you're one of those people that I,
Meat and cheese
there's a
tray.
there's a there's a what I can't remember if I think it's an episode of Modern Family. I might be remembering this wrong, where Jay figures out what a charcuterie board is, and he's like, "This is what I've been skipping this whole time." It's me. It's an adult Lunchable. I don't remember.
It is
I
an
don't know if it
adult
was that or
Lunchable.
if it was a different comedian or something
It's
like
an
that. But I
adult
think that's what it was.
Lunchable,
And
just like some crudités. It's just
stop
literally
giving things fancy names.
it's like we name them those things to get adults to eat them, whereas we do the opposite with kids. Like we call it a Lunchable, but then for adults, we're like, it's a charcuterie board, so we don't feel like we're kids eating Lunchables.
Yeah.
And then we call them crudités in order to get us to eat our veggies. It's it's just fancy words for adults to make adults eat things like that. So they have it's a fantastic atmosphere. It's absolutely worth the wait. We had so much fun there with our friends. Cannot recommend it enough. And really, that's kind of like it when it came to Fort Collins. We did go, some of our family went rock climbing. So if you're into rock climbing, it's an indoor rock climbing gym. We highly recommend when you're
Oh, this was
Whetstone,
this
WHET.
was. We've been to several rock climbing gyms on the road, and the kids have really enjoyed that. We're not like climbers.
Yeah. No,
But
shocking if you can't tell.
we've
We're
been
not
with other
climbers.
families that do it that more serious than us and have enjoyed our times doing it. We've been to maybe 5 or 6 of them now, and this was by far the biggest one we've ever been to.
That's laid out one too, I would
Yeah,
say. And
there were a lot of people there,
yeah.
but it was
I recommend really really enjoyed, like, they had this nice little bar area
well,
that
yeah. I
overlooked,
mean, a
which
climbing
was
gym with a bar,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, those things seem to go together. But it is Colorado. So, but in our family, like,
And bouldering was invented in this area,
it
so
was.
yeah.
And our family isn't so much into bouldering as much as we really like the belay and
The auto belay,
the
kids
auto
love,
belay. The kids
yes.
really enjoy that a
Which of course is
lot.
always more expensive.
Which of course, but they've got expensive rock climbing taste, I guess. But it's a great gym, like, and very accessible, meets everybody at whatever level they're at. Our friends have 2 of their kids take classes there and are on rock climbing teams. So it was really fun to go and watch that as well. We got to watch the classes that the kids were in, and um, that's tough. That is some tough climbing stuff. So it's really cool. If that's something you're interested in, we highly recommend checking that place out in Fort Collins as well. Uh, but otherwise, Fort Collins is a great town. Go check it out. It's a nice introduction. It was good for us to go there for a few days before heading to Breckenridge because Fort Collins sits at about 5,500 feet. So it was nice to kind of get acclimated a little bit before we headed up to Breck, which was at 9,600. And so, because I'll tell you, when I came from LA and drove straight to Breckenridge, when I arrived Thursday night was tough for me. Like, I was very dizzy. I felt like I was really working hard to take some breaths
Yeah.
because I had just in that week of being down in LA had been enough for me to kind of lose all that acclimation that I had had. And so, by Friday morning, I was fine. But Thursday night, I was just like, ooh, I feel like I'm on something and I didn't mean to do this. So, Fort Collins is a nice introduction.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those places where you could stay for a while, you could stay for a short trip. It's not really very far from Wyoming. It's a really quick trip down
Mm-hmm.
from Wyoming. So yeah, that's our time in Fort Collins, and we absolutely love it there. And I think we'll probably be spending more time over the years.
Mm-hmm. I would move there.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
totally move there. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a great
great town.
place. All right, it is time to check the level of our tanks. And as always, this is sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. You only have a few more days to register for the Alliance Delta Travel Trailer. They are giving away that ends on May 1st. So if you are listening to this after May 1st, that is already closed. Go to liquefiedrv.com to find out more. All right, Jay, what is in your black tank this
Well, I
week?
already gave you my black
You did.
tank.
So let's just skip right
We
to
just
the
skipped right to
fresh.
my
Go
fresh
right
tank.
to
My
the
fresh
fresh.
tank it was the drive that we made here from
Mm,
Breckenridge. Um,
you
I-
stole my fresh
I'm
tank, you
sorry.
stinker.
Did I?
You did. That's okay. We can share it.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
share it because it was such a lovely drive.
You know, I tend to be the type that likes to just. I do like scenic drives. I love
Mm-hmm.
scenic drives. But I'm not one of those RVers that's like, oh, I avoid the highways at all
You want all the
costs.
blue highways for
The
you mile
the blue
markers.
roads, which nobody has been able to tell me why we use the term blue roads yet. My assumption.
Someone has told you, I think you just forgot. It
Oh,
used to be how they were marked on the map.
that was my assumption, but
Yeah, and
I
so that
nobody has
book
been able to show me like what map or where.
so
Like,
the book that we read for the Last Mile Marker book club, Blue Highways,
oh right, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
was
I didn't read it. You
yeah,
read it.
I read it. So the
Yeah,
author took no interstates.
yeah,
He did his entire travels across
yeah,
the US on what are deemed like blue highways. So those are, back road highways, state highways, county roads,
yeah,
things like that. And so those are what are blue highways.
yeah.
Basically something a truck wouldn't yeah.
Well, no, they're for truckers too.
Some are, but I
No,
would
they all are. They're highways. They're just not interstates.
well, I don't know if I mean,
They're the highways that existed before the interstate system.
sure. I guess in this book, some of the roads I remember him taking, and it could just be that he, you know, deemed them all that. But if I remember right, there were some like blue highways or some roads he took. No way truckers going
Yeah,
on that.
that's not a blue highway then.
Okay,
But
well,
but, but
boy.
anyway,
Anyway, back to your
maybe
fresh tank.
maybe it used to, and it's been deteriorated or what. But anyway, yes. So the drive on I-70, like through Vale Pass and
Not
into
my favorite.
Glenwood Springs. Oh, it's gorgeous though.
It was when we left on Friday.
So
That was the third time I'd made that
beautiful.
drive.
You've made that drive 3 times. But we turned north at Rifle, Colorado, and started making our way over here to Vernal, Utah. Between Rifle and Vernal, we were on what I would call a blue
Yeah,
highway.
Highway 40.
Some state, well, it wasn't that at first,
No,
but
but the
some state highways, and it was all very rural, all um, nice roads, but it just felt driving through uh, vast nothingness. And I thought it was just, I kept looking around every corner and being like, I would live there. I would live
yeah,
there. I would put a house back there. Stop putting your house so close to the road, but I would live there.
yeah. It was a really
Yeah.
chill drive, which when I get to my black tank, you'll understand why I needed a drive like that. It was quite perfect. We didn't encounter really any truckers. There wasn't a lot of traffic. It was just a two-lane highway for that whole time, and we just were kind of cruising. You're not going super fast. You don't feel the pressure of other cars behind you to go faster, on 70 through all of Colorado. And then, my gosh, when you get into Utah, it's 80 miles an hour. That's the speed limit. Once you cross into Utah on 70 and 15, it's 80. So, to not feel that pressure, because personally, I won't drive 80. That's just not, I'm not, I don't think I need to be going that fast. So not that I'm gonna, drive 60, but, I would say 80 is like my limit. 75 is my comfort zone on a highway like that. But yeah, I'm with you. It was, I was sharing the fresh tank. It was a drive that I think we all needed. It was very quiet. We stopped when we needed bathroom breaks. But other than that, we're all enjoying our family audiobook together and just cruising through some absolutely stunning landscape, which we have actually driven
Yeah.
before. We have stayed back in 2020, we stayed at Rifle Gap State Park with our friends, the Armsteads, and then continued on from there to Vernal and stayed. Actually, we've not done any boondocking like we're doing now, but we stayed at a campground in Vernal, went to
Terrible
Dinosaur.
campground, but it
Terrible,
was, I mean, the
horrible
when
campground.
people crack at how close the campsites are at some campgrounds, this was
They're
the
talking about that one.
closest we had ever been, to the point we were concerned that we couldn't get our actually, our friends couldn't get their staircase down, folded
Yeah.
down without hitting our slide. It
Yeah,
was that
that's how
close.
close we all were. That's one of those times when you're like, you're really thankful that you're traveling with people that love and accept you for all your positives and all your, flaws because
But
they are right on top of you and everybody hears everything. So, you
but
know,
we probably won't do like a full episode on this area. So
no,
just a quick mention, if we're not going to get to do it as we're here though, but Dinosaur National Monument is one of the best places we've ever
so much
visited.
fun. We've got an episode. I'll put it in the description for the show. We have an old episode of America's National Parks on a woman that lived in Dinosaur National
Cattle
Monument,
rustler and
which
yeah.
this is not a story you think you're going to get when you go to Dino. This is also for those of you who've been around for a while. This is also the park that we went to where we went on the hike where tall grass snake hike, where halfway through, and we're all with our friends, where halfway through, I looked at Jason and I said, "Peace, I'm out of here," because I was so convinced a snake was going to jump out at me in these tall grass, and ran. I ran the entire way back to the parking lot non-stop. Thought I was going to vomit by the time I got back to the truck because I had been running for so long, and then climbed up onto the tailgate and then sat up there and wouldn't put my feet back down on the ground until everyone showed back up because I have a real big snake phobia. And apparently there'd already been a couple that had been spotted by other people
Yeah.
on that hike and no one wanted to tell me, but I just knew. And I was like, that's it. I know these snakes are coming for me. I'm out of here. And I left everybody and I ran. So this is a great park. It's got a lot more to it than you would think.
It's way more than you think. It's really
Yep.
cool to see dinosaur bones in the wild, but also where they've built a museum around them. They've sort of cut out a rock wall and you can see them sort
Very
of
cool.
what they say in situ, which is um in their natural sort of
Yeah.
element. But also there's whitewater rafting in this park.
Yeah, it's so
There's
cool.
wonderful camping. It's a huge park. It really could, have the national park status, but it is a national monument.
It
But
starts in Dinosaur, Colorado. That's like the east side of the park. And then
it's a two
Vernal is the
states. Yeah,
west.
yeah.
This is also the park, and then we'll move on. This is also the park where we were, quote unquote, recognized for the first time ever. Do you remember this? We were inside the visitor center, all masked up, and someone came up to us and said, "Are you the people that just got kicked out of the campground
It
a
was
couple weeks
it
ago?" It
was
was right after
after
Montrose.
this is where we
Yes.
went from Montrose when that happened.
Yes.
And literally we're wearing masks. It's 2020, summer 2020 in a museum. We're
Mhm.
wearing masks and they recognize us with masks on.
Yeah, and they said, "Did you just get kicked out? Are you RV Miles? Did you guys just get kicked out of the campground?"
We weren't listen, that was the incident that sort of made us a little bit more popular than we were
Oh,
then, but
it was like the first time, and I just thought, "Oh, this isn't really what I ever wanted people to know us
that's
for,"
not
but there it is, there it is. So great, great, great
all right.
national monument.
What's your fresh or no, that's
That
it.
was my fresh tank, so I need to go to my
That's everything.
black.
What's your black tank?
So my black tank.
Man, we have screwed this all up.
I know we're all out of sync. So my black tank is, as I alluded to, why I needed a nice chill drive on Friday was so on Thursday, as I'm driving back from LA with my brother, we are coming into the last leg of the drive. We had stayed for the night again in Richfield, Utah, and we had 400 miles to go on Thursday. As we are coming up on Glenwood Springs, Colorado, We are only at this point about, oh, I don't know, 80, 85 miles from Breckenridge. As we're coming up on Glenwood Springs, we start seeing signs, the digital road signs that say, I-70 closed at Glenwood Springs. I said, you're going to need to take alternate routes. I-70 closed, I-70 closed. And we're like, oh my gosh, we've got to get, because my brother had rented a car at the Vail Eagle Airport. We needed to get that picked up and then continue on to drop off my rental car and then go up to Breckenridge.
And when they say you need to take an alternate route in the
So,
mountains,
yeah.
it's not
So
it's not
I
not quite as simple as
Yeah.
it could be in other places.
So, yeah, when I-70 closes in that area this time of year, you're kind of screwed until I-70 opens back up. So, we find out that I-70 had been closed the day before too in that area.
For snow.
No, another accident.
Oh, it was an accident.
It was another.
It was
So,
closed a few days before. It was
for
closed the
snow.
day after you left
Yeah.
for snow.
So,
And then an accident, and then this incident.
so what we find out is that at 8 a.m. that morning, a cattle truck driver overturned. I don't know how. I don't know. I know that as you come past Glenwood Springs on 70 East, you start getting into some little S-curve windy. You got to slow it down. It's like 50 miles an hour for trucks. So this cattle had overturned with live cattle, my friends, live cattle. So they have to, the highway is totally shut down. They are having to rescue cattle, live and unfortunately not alive cattle. Reports have it at some point, hazmat had to be brought in, but they had to come from Denver. So that's like 2 hours. So it's 11:30 and we're like, we don't really know all the details. We just know it's shut down. We don't really know what's going on. And we're like, okay, well, we're going to reroute, I guess.
So you were in contact with me, and
Yeah.
I was checking on like the Colorado Department of Transportation's website, and
Yeah.
the one thing I have found, because this isn't the first time we've done this, where like we're remotely helping somebody travel,
Yeah.
is if you go to the Facebook pages of places like the Department of Transportation, they will
That's-
often post about it, and then you can read what they say. It's usually the quickest updated, but then also people in the comments will add context that really helps you understand what's actually happening, because often they'll be like, what Colorado Department of Transportation was doing was like, we have no estimate for time of reopening.
It's closed.
But
2+
but then
hours.
people in the comments would be like, they just turned the truck back up. It's right side up. So we thought, okay, once that happened, we thought, well, maybe it'll be soon.
So, but prior to the truck getting turned back up, before we had that information, we were rerouted. We were going to reroute. We were going to take these Colorado highways that were going to lead us the long way around, up and over the mountain in a big giant circle that was going to take us into, we could catch 70, what would normally only be 40 miles was going to take us like 90-ish miles, I think, something like that.
I think
Don't
it was
quote
more
me.
than that. It was going to take,
It was adding 2.5 hours for us before we could catch 70 again. So we do what these signs say. And a host of us, it is a nonstop stream of cars. We are all heading for this, I think it's called Cedar Pass. Okay, so we're all headed that way because that is what we are told to do. We are going. We get drive through Glenwood Springs. We get about a half an hour outside. We're about to make the turn to hit the pass, and we are stopped by transportation workers who are standing there turning all of us around because it's still closed for the season. No mention is made of this to the dozens upon dozens upon dozens of cars backed up, getting off the highway at Glenwood Springs to go make this drive to try and get back and connect with 70 and to get where we need to go. There is no mention in all of the digital signs that we can't make this drive. So we get turned around. Behind me is a Dollar General giant truck that shouldn't even be there to begin with, but it apparently was like, screw that, and decided it was going to try to make the pass. It has to make a 3-point turn to turn around because it's got to come back now, and we all have to go back to Glenwood Springs. So we get turned around. And we're told you're gonna have to go all the way down to Rifle Gap, and you're gonna have to grab Rifle, and you're
You
gonna
were
have to take
taking the
that up to
southern
Steam.
route, which you
Yeah,
can't take.
yeah,
The only way you could take the southern route was to go all the way
yeah,
down to 50,
yeah.
all the way down into
So
Gunnison.
now,
So you ended up having to go back to
so
Rifle
you're gonna go
to
back
go the
to
north
Rifle
route,
to
which would
go
have
through
been the
Steamboat
route you
Springs.
should have taken. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna go Steamboat Springs. We're gonna have to go up to Steamboat Springs. We're gonna have to come around, and we're like, you got to be kidding. Rifle Gap is at least 45 minutes back. Okay, so now we're like, we get back down there, and I feel so bad because every car I pass heading that way towards this closed pass, I'm like, I can't tell them different. I can't tell. No one's telling us not to do this. It is a continuous line of cars. So we get back down, we get back to Glenwood, we get back on the highway, we head 70 west, we get down to Rifle, and we start this drive that we made on Friday. That we ended up making in the Sabre. We're driving, Jason and I, my brother, are driving this, and 2.5 hours it is now going to add to our trip because we're going to go up to Steamboat, we're going to come back around. And Jason and I are so exhausted at this point, so friggin' tired of driving. And you message us and say, you call me and you say, the reports have it that the truck has been turned upright. They
Yeah.
anticipate the highway opening up within an hour. So Jason and I make the decision to turn around and not do this drive up to Steamboat Springs, because to turn around, drive back to Rifle, get back on 70, and hope that by the time we hit Glenwood Springs, the highway is open, is actually shorter for us than if we had done the 2.5 hours it would take us just to get around to the other side of Glenwood Springs to grab 70 and then continue on to Vail. Because when we picked up the rental car at the airport, we still had a 90-minute drive between Eagle and Breckenridge. So we turn around, we come back, we get through, the highway is open, and we arrive in Breckenridge at about 4:30, 5 o'clock after starting a 400-mile drive at 6:30 that morning. Took us 10 hours to go 400 miles. And I was like, if I don't see this stretch between Rifle and Glenwood Springs ever again, I was like,
And
I will be fine.
and then you had to do it
And then I had to do it again on Friday.
the next day.
Because you've got to go up over Vail Pass, which is, you hit 10,600 feet, and you've
Oh,
just,
it's beautiful.
it's stunning, but it's exhausting because, it's a lot of, driving is always active, but it's very active driving on these highways with truckers, with people who are very comfortable driving these roads because they probably do it every day between work and home and all of that, and the truck drivers, and they want to just zip. And you, as an individual who don't drive these, don't want to just go 15 or 20 miles faster than the speed limit on these S curves. So it's just a lot of managing. A lot of managing happens through here. So could communication have been a little bit better? Yeah, absolutely. Would have been really nice to know that the route you were telling me to go take was actually unrealistic. That probably would have, because what we would have done is we would have just hung out in Glenwood Springs. We would have parked the car. We would have walked around, grabbed some lunch, stretched our legs instead of all this unnecessary driving. So, Black Tank, I know we're all managing situations like that unexpectedly in moments, but I do feel like this isn't their first rodeo. And I do wish that communication had been a little bit easier to access as to what we could and could not do this time of
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, because then they were very clear on the website at when it came to the point where it's like, oh, we'll probably open it in an hour. The alternative routes were very clear then, and it
Yeah.
wasn't the route that they were sending you on.
Nope.
But you're like, well, at this point, why are you? You're going to reopen it soon. So
Yeah,
what are we
might as
doing here?
well. So it
So
just a tough day. Just a Black Tank for a tough day after what had been just a stressful week. and wanting my brother to have some relaxation and not be stuck in a car as long as we
Well,
were.
we're glad he's good. We're glad you're back, and we're glad to be on the road. It's
Yes!
getting windy, so that's it
gonna
for this
wrap it
week's
up.
episode of the RV Miles
Yes,
podcast.
it is. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you would like to learn more about supporting the work we do here at RV Miles, we would encourage you to go to rvmiles.com/milemarker and join that community over there of some amazing people who are supporting the work that we do, that we put out and you enjoy. So rvmiles.com/milemarker. But until next week, friends, stay safe, stay healthy. Just be a little bit mindful if you're driving a cattle truck next week. Maybe just take those turns a little bit slower. The cows will appreciate
Maybe the
it.
cows were back there just like, let me out of this thing, and they tipped it.
Maybe. I will say Jason had quite the dark joke when we passed a bunch of a cattle ranch later that week, and he was like, boy, y'all dodged a real big one there.
I mean, none of them are dodging anything, right? Let's
Not
be
really.
honest.
Not really, but it was just sort of like, boy, you guys, you really lucked out you weren't on that cargo truck because it was a mess. So, just take those curves a little bit slower next time, friends, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.